right, we're live.
All right. So, hello everyone. I'm Nathan. And, I'm here with James. Uh,
Hello.
we're going to be talking about. Um, okay, can you stop?
Just keep going. Just
Okay.
cut it out, man.
Oh
Just
man.
keep rolling.
Okay. We're going to be talking about uh, Ford Pinellas. Um, uh, I didn't rehearse this at all.
Just go with it.
Okay.
Just a trial, remember?
Yeah, yeah. We're talking about uh, communities and how they are how they affect us and what we can potentially do to make them better. And part of this trial, this podcast that we're going to be starting is to basically bring to the forefront things within our communities, new new ideas that are being presented, new movements, and what that will do for you or us. Um, so right now we're looking at this article uh, in, from Florida. It talks about this pedestrian slash bike trail that goes pretty much throughout part of the Tampa Bay area, um, going all the way from, if you're not familiar with the area, uh, the Pinellas County area. It's west of Tampa, and it goes from uh, the very tip of the Tampa Bay area to the northern part, all the way near, I think it was Palm Harbor. So it's a pretty extensive trail, um, and supposedly just completed it, and it's called the Pinellas Trail. So, and it took about like 3 decades of construction to complete it. Um, and now starting back in 1984. So, yeah. What do you think about that kind of project going on when we have all these other issues in our communities? Like, do you think it's worthwhile? Do you think it added any kind of activity to our community, or do you think it just kind of like it's like a path to nowhere?
Well, having experienced living in Florida before, um, I mean, we lived in Lakeland, so we experienced trails ourselves, and yeah, it didn't seem like there was enough of them. So, if an area like that can benefit from having their own trail, that if they didn't have one before, then yeah, I mean, it should be something that should be implemented for sure. And I mean, I encourage any area to have walking, biking trails. I mean, there was a lot of bicycle lanes in Florida. There maybe wasn't enough, maybe not even enough sidewalks, for instance.
Right.
So I mean, having being able to have a recreational activity to walk your dog or run, because a lot of people run. A lot of people's everyday activity involves running every morning
Mm-hmm.
or late in the evening.
Yeah.
Having something like that around, it can encourage people to exercise. It can encourage people to use their car less, for instance. I mean, that's a long trail. I mean, how long did it say it was? Like 6 miles, 6.7 miles. And it said it was nearly 65 miles of the planned 75 miles of the Pinellas Trail Loop is in place. So are they still thinking of building more?
Well, it's in the final stages. It's almost complete. It's a all in all, it's a 250-mile multi-use trail. Wait,
It's that long?
Okay, when complete, the loop will be a continuous multi-use pathway stretching from Tarpon Springs to St. Petersburg, with connections to Palm Harbor, Dunedin, Clearwater, Safety Harbor, and many other communities. The loop will also provide regional connections to Hillsborough and Pasco County trail networks. And linked to the western end of the Florida Coast to Coast Connector Trail, a 250-mile multi use trail. So basically, this trail can connect to a bigger trail that connects to other trails. It's going to create a
Oh, so
statewide
just
trail.
expanding.
Yeah. Um,
Wow, Tarpon Springs to St. Pete, that's like 40 minutes.
yeah, so it's a pretty long trail.
40 minutes driving time, but 40-minute walking time?
So
You're
yeah,
talking about 10 hours. 10 hours of walking, according
yeah,
to Google.
it's basically like okay, so they have completed nearly 65 miles of the 75 miles for Pinellas Trail, right? So it's
Right,
like they
yeah.
have 10 miles more to go, and it took them many decades to get to this point. My it has it's very expensive, and it allows people to like go long distances walking, but um, probably not anywhere where they need to go necessarily in any reasonable fashion. It's a good recreational
Right.
activity, but I just I, they have a lot of trails in your downtown St. Pete area, but even then the trails are spread out and there's not enough density to make them truly worthwhile to use because you still have to travel long distance just to get anywhere, even on
Yeah,
the bike.
I see this. I see this like the way that my friend Seth would. He would talk about people doing like these marathon like journeys on bike throughout the country, and there'd be like
Mhm.
these trails in the Appalachians where people would start like in one state, like they could start all the way at the bottom of Florida and go all the way up to like Tennessee or North Carolina. I forget like where the end point was, but you could go from there all the way up and just bike that entire trail, just like straight on. And that kind of sounds like what this is you can just if you wanted to, which I guess is kind of cool, but like yeah, you could bike that trail. But like you were saying, will it really bring you to areas that you want to be if you wanted to take an alternative route and not take a car? Probably not. But as a recreational exercise like activity, sure. I mean that's cool. Is it worth spending $10 million on? I don't know. Should they have spent $10 million on making trails that would actually bring you to, you know, a reasonable, practical destination? Maybe they should have put the money into that. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's a very good thing, right? It makes it easier for people to go through these, especially high, very urban, suburban sprawl area. It makes it safer for people to walk through, right, and like be able to go longer distances. Um, and that's a good thing. But I feel like uh, it, it's there's still a little bit more ways to go, and it's kind of overshadowing of what we really need going on for the most part.
yeah, well, you going into city planning and whatnot. What do you think was going through their minds when they decided to start this project and continue on with it?
I think politically it was easy to do because it wasn't really changing the foundation of like oh just keep building more suburbs and keep building more roads and stuff like that and and it's like oh we're gonna have paths but like these paths are gonna be like so long, right? All you can really do is just exercise on them pretty much for like um, a couple hours or so a day. It's not something you could be like, oh, I'm going to take a 5 minute walk over here. Because, I mean, there might be some areas where you could do that, especially with all the trails that they have in the downtown area. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's like, it's kind of like just unused in a way. Like, how many people are really going to be using all those trails when, especially in the heat that we have? And like, I'm pretty sure like there's not a lot of trees like on those trails because that's something that uh, these developments do. It's like they don't really focus on like shade. They're like, oh, we have this trail, so people are gonna use them, right? But it's like, what about comfortability? Like, what about like, well, if they want to stop by somewhere and get something to drink along the way?
See, that's the thing that's different between from what I've seen in Florida and then from what I see here in North Carolina is that
Mhm.
if there's a trail, there's shade. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like almost like they build the trails under the trees, which would make a lot of sense. But like, yeah, we have like an entire park with trails on it where it's just all shaded down with trees. And like, sure, there's some portions where you can cut in and it's like a gravel path and like it would be out in the open more so. But yeah, for the most part, it's in the shade. And from what I've seen in Florida, I mean, it's just open season for sunburns and the like, and your dog to just like keel over and die on the side. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe just the Florida, the environmental architecture, if you will, is just maybe there's not like shade like there is here in North Carolina because like the way that the woods and the forestry are, it's just not the same. I mean, if you look at like the suburban areas, I mean, it's like they don't even try. Like the trees aren't even trying to shade you up at all.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a big issue. Well, land is also very like scarce here too, like because there's so many people wanting their own houses and stuff like that, and I don't really think a lot of people appreciate trees as that much down here either. Like people moved in my neighborhood, they just like, oh, I could just cut down the tree right next to their house. I'm like, why would you do that? You know, but
Yeah. Oh, and another thing is like, you know how if you're driving to downtown Lakeland and you
mhm.
get to like that bricked road portion, and then you have all those trees like overhanging that area,
Yeah,
and it's like for people who like just live in Florida, for people to see that, they're like, "Wow, this is cool," because like you just never see that. You never see just trees overhanging the road because that's just unheard of. You just
well,
never see stuff like that.
yeah. Well, part of it is because that area is a historical district, so it has to be maintained,
They
have how it was
preserved,
before. Yeah,
yeah, they
um,
preserved the
which
tree.
can be kind of a pain because like then they have to like they have a lot more trouble maintaining those houses because they have to do it in a very specific way and whatnot. But like we should be preserving trees more, especially in such a sunshine state that we're in, um, and that you used to be in. So yeah,
Yeah,
I mean overall, I like that they were able to do this, right? But I feel like it's just kind of like overshadowing what actually needs to be done, you know? And it's just it's a win, but it's not. It's like the win we deserve, but not like the win we need.
right. Yeah.
You know, it's not like it's there, but there's something else that we can be focusing on more. And I mean, they could have made this better if they focused more on shade. I mean, obviously, I haven't been through all of the trail, but from a few pictures I can see, it just doesn't seem like there's enough shade to go around. Like I see this photo of these people biking, and like for a good stretch, there's like no shade whatsoever and nothing on either side. I'm like, they're just biking just for fun. There's like I can't just bike to work on this, you know. So it's only going to be utilized during people's free times, really.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool, and I understand the idea. I mean, like I said, I mean, like these trails that go across state lines. I mean, that's cool and all. But yeah, worth $10 million. just have the, maybe that's all that they can have. They're
Yeah.
like, can we have reliable sidewalks? Nah, but you got this really long trail.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that leads to
man,
nowhere,
all
right?
right. Yeah, I guess that's one thing we can have. That's one little win.
Yeah. They also have this. I see this bridge that was one of their photos. That I guess that connects the trail over this like what 4 lane road, and it just has a cage around it. I'm like, if you're gonna build, can you at least put like a roof on it? At least like provide some kind of a break from the sun a little bit, because it seems like all they cared about was the path. Just as long as there's a path,
Yeah.
that's all we care about. Like there could have been a lot more behind this, and it could have been a lot better. But at the very least, it's a good recreational thing and something that we could use more of, anyways. Because like even in Lakeland, there's not a lot of paths we can use. Um,
Yeah.
because like there's only like what Lake Hollingsworth, and then you have um, what was that, Carter Road Park,
Right.
and then you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
what was that other one, Circle B.
Yeah, Circle B, that's one.
Yeah, Circle B, and then there's like one or two others, like you have like Bonnie Park and stuff. They're very small, like you can't really like fully enjoy it. Like you're done in like 40 minutes, right?
Even those
And
don't have app shade either.
yeah, I don't have upshade. I mean, like at least Pinellas is long, right? But like from what I see is like, why would you want to spend so much time without shade? Like they have the length, they just don't have the shade for it, or like it's just like a desert almost. It's like, hey, just go on this very long desert ride and come back come back to your house when you feel tired enough. And like, how do people even get to this trail? Like, do most of them have to drive to it? Like,
Drive
they have
to the
to
trail.
find parking and then get onto the trail? Like,
That's what kind of sucks sometimes, and
Yeah.
that's what I experienced living in Asheville. Is because with a city that's so spread out like that, and I know Florida's pretty spread out too, so it's probably the same thing. You have to drive to the trail just to walk or bike on the trail, where it's like, why can't I just walk to the trail? There's just no way to do it. I mean, at least you're in Greensboro. I mean, the trails are pretty close, but I mean, you still got to drive to it, and you still got to park in a parking lot, which is like,
yeah.
oh man, I wish I could just. And there's a
Walk
lot of
there.
sidewalks here. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of sidewalks here, but I mean, like, even that's a little bit impractical because it's so far away. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kudos on them, man. That at least they were able to get something done. Maybe they can go back and add some trees. I mean, it's not the end of the road. It's something that's fixable, but it's definitely something that like it's helping to overshadow some other issues that we have. It's like, oh no, we have walkable communities. Check out our really long trail. It's kind of like an excuse of not to like actually make it walkable and enjoyable.
Would it help if, like, let's say 10 years down the line, they built like stuff on the side? They built like stores, like convenience stores, or stuff that's worth like walking to. I mean,
yeah.
would it technically be a win if, like, like, sure, there's nothing now, but like they added stuff later on?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a win, but again, you're kind of developing areas that were like in the nature area, because what I'm getting from this Penestro, goes through like suburban areas, but also goes through the nature areas also. So it's like at one point we have that cutoff, and like if you really, I think it'd be fine as just like a nature trail, right? But it definitely needs more shade, right? And it definitely needs other ways of access to that trail, right?
Right.
Maybe trams going to the starting the trailheads and stuff like that. But I'm not too familiar with this, but from what I've seen from this article, it seems like there's still progress that can be made on it, and it's not something we should celebrate, but it's not something we should like just say, oh, we're there, we did it. There's still
Yeah,
more that we
right.
can probably do. I mean, I would like to see something like this in Polk County. I think they were trying to do something like that, but it's still taking way longer to do here in Polk County. And the fact that it even took like so many, like like a couple of decades for them to even do Pinellas to begin with, that just shows just
It's a
the
long
lack
time.
of care that they even have for us to be able to walk around in our state. So, best
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to experience something different up in North Carolina. Maybe you could talk about more of that in future, like the differences that you see up there and all that. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, I will say just in general. I mean, like if you have any disbelief that like there aren't places that exist where walking is like a huge thing or biking. I mean, they do. They exist in the U.S. It's not very widespread, and of course we should be pushing for that more. But they exist. Greensboro is probably the best place I've seen so far, which has pretty reliable source of sidewalks and trails and stuff like that. It's like a good mix between city and um, the outdoors. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? I mean, for with trails like that they're building in Florida, I mean, could be just a good excuse just to say, you guys have something when it's when really it's not much compared to other things like here in Greensboro where it's like an actual trail.
yeah, yeah. It's
What
just
you'd expect.
yes, it's the little leagues. That's what we are. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we never heard of what a trail was before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's it's pretty interesting that they're doing this overall, and hopefully we could talk about other things in the future similar to this and expound upon that. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that about wraps it up
yeah.
for this one.
All right. Well, it's been nice talking to you, James. And to everyone else, thank you for joining us. We will be looking forward to covering more topics such as these and asking questions and trying to see the benefits and cons of these new ideas and projects that they're implementing. So, anyways, thank you everyone, and catch you next time.
All right.